So here's the substitution method broken down into 5 steps. It'll make more sense when we actually do an example, but I just wanted you to have these. So first of all, you have to have one of the equations solve for x or for y. Then you can substitute that equation into the other equation. When you do that, you're going to be able to solve for one variable, solve the equation. Then in step 4, whatever you get for your answer for x or for y, you can plug into the equation from step 1. And then by the end here, you should have an answer for both x and y, and you can write it as an ordered pair. Just as kind of a side note, if you are solving with 2 other letters like a and b, or m and n, when you write your answers in ordered pair, they always go in alphabetical order. Let's try this example. So step 1, we have to get one of the equations solved for x or for y. And if I look at the top equation, it's pretty easy to solve this one for x because I have just a single x in this top equation. So to do that, I'm going to subtract 2y from both sides. And then I can rewrite the top equation as x equals 8 minus 2y. Those aren't like terms, and so we got to keep them separate. Now that I know x is equal to 8 minus 2y, I can take this whole expression and plug it in for x in the second equation. So it looks like this. The second equation becomes 1/2. Now instead of x, take out the x and plug in 8 minus 2y. Since they're equal to each other, we can make this substitution. The rest of the equation says minus y equals 18. Notice now we have an equation with only one variable in it, and so I can figure out what y is. Let's go ahead and distribute. 1/2 times 8 is 4, minus 1/2 times 2 is 1y, or just y. Then there's a minus y equals 18. You should always combine like terms here. So this is -1 plus -1, and I have a total of -2y. So 4 minus 2y equals 18. Subtract 4 from both sides. -2y equals 14. And then divide that by -2. And we get a y value of -7. All right, we're halfway there. This first part is really the longest part of this process. So y equals -7. Let's go back up into the very first equation. Because this one is already solved for x, and I know that x equals 8 minus 2 times my y value, I can plug in -7 for y and find my answer. So x will equal 8 minus 2 times my y value is -7. This is 8 plus 14. And we know that x equals 22. Okay, so now finally you're going to write your answer as an ordered pair. So the x value always comes first. X is 22, y is -7. So you got to remember that. It's not the order that you found your answers. It's the x value first, the y value second. Then we're done. If you wanted to check that this works, go ahead and replace x and y in the first 2 equations with 22 and -7, and you can check that the equations are satisfied. Remember, what this also means is that if you were to graph these 2 lines, they have one intersection point, and that would be at 22, -7. Okay, let's try this one. Now, if I look at these 2 equations, again, I want to look for the variable that's kind of isolated or singled out, and that in this case would be the second equation, x. It's all alone here, just one x, not all alone, but it's just a 1x, and so it's easy to solve for x if I just subtract 2. I don't have to do any dividing. So this equation becomes x equals 15 minus 2y. This time we solve the second equation for x. So when I plug in 15 minus 2y, I need to do that in the top equation, the one that I didn't just solve. Okay, so let's make our substitution. Following the top equation, we have 2 times our x value, but instead of x, now we're going to make the substitution. X is equal to 15 minus 2y. So you can replace it. Then you've got a minus 3y equals 2, following the top equation. Distributing gives me 30 minus 4y minus 3y equals 2. Combining the y's together, -4 minus 3 is -7. So -7y. Now we've got 30 minus 7y equals 2. I'm going to subtract 30 from 2 to get -7y equals -28. And then divide both sides by -7. And we're dividing 2 negatives here, so y is going to become +4. Okay, again, this is where like the long part of the process is. We have half of our answer. Now finding x should be easy. In this equation here, I know that x is equal to 15 minus 2y. That means x must be 15 minus 2 times 4, because we know that y is 4. So 15 minus 8 gives us an x value of 7. This is an x equals 7. And now finally we can write it as the ordered pair 7, 4. Okay, again, this is where the two lines would intersect, so there is one solution to this system. Okay, let me show you one more that's a word problem. Dante spent $11.25 on 3 new and 4 old comic books, and Samantha spent $15.75 on 10 old and 3 new ones. If comics of one type are sold at the same price, what is the price in dollars of a new comic book? So we have two equations here. We have one equation to represent how much Dante spent and another equation to represent how much Samantha spent. Those are the two equations that make up this system. It's always a good idea, though, to identify what your variables are going to represent. So you can use whatever letters you want. I'm going to stick with x and y just to make it easier. So in this case, I might say that x represents the price of a new comic book and y represents the price of an old comic book. Again, we're talking about prices here, okay? So let's write our equation for Dante. If we read back at the very beginning here, we know that he spent $11.25 on 3 new and 4 old. So that means 3 times x plus 4 times y has to be $11.25. Okay, then we know that Samantha spent $15.75 on 3 new ones, so that's 3 times x plus 10 old ones, that's 10 times y, and her total was $15.75. All right, now, it doesn't really matter which variable you solve for here. There's not really one that's easier than the others. I think I'm going to solve the bottom equation for y, because I don't have a calculator on me and it's easy to divide by 10. Okay, so taking this second equation, I'm going to try to get y by itself. I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. So now we have 10y equals 15.75 minus 3x. Then I'm going to divide by 10, divide everything by 10. And now I have y by itself. Y is equal to 1.575 minus 0.3x. All right, now this is my substitution. I'm going to plug it in this time for the y variable in the top equation because I've got it solved for y. So this goes in for y into the first equation. All right, I'm going to switch colors here so I don't get too much on my page. Okay, so now in red I'm going to work on solving this system. So the top equation is 3x plus 4 times my y value, and that's 1.575 minus 0.3x. All right, let's go. Oh, and then it's supposed to equal 11.25. I almost forgot that other side. 11.25. There we go. Now we have an equation with x in it, and we can go ahead and solve for x, which will actually give us the answer. X represents the price of a new comic book, so that's what we want to find out. Okay, so distributing 3x plus, I'm going to be lazy and grab my calculator here. I need to do 4 times 1.575, and I get 6.3. So I have 3x plus 6.3 minus 1.2x equals 11.25. Okay, now I can subtract my constant 6.3 on both sides. And then I can also combine my x's together. So 3 minus 1.2x leaves me with 1.8. 1.8x equals, and now I'm going to subtract over here, and I get 5, 9, 4, 495. Then I can divide both sides by 1.8, and I'll have my answer, hopefully. Okay, so 4.95 divided by 1.8. Let's check it out. 4.95. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, let me try this again. 4.95 divided by 1.8, and we get $2.75. Okay, so if we go back and read the problem, we're asked to find the price of a new comic book. I don't need the ordered pair X, Y. I don't need to know what Y is because we weren't asked the price of an old comic book. We were just asked the price of a new comic book. And that's exactly what X represents for us. So the answer is simply $2.75. And we're done with that one.